Hi and welcome to another Watch Geek video. Today, we take a look at one of the funkiest watches ever to be featured on my channel. This watch is not for the faint of heart or those who want to fly under the radar. It is an Orient Sea King diver, a watch from a large family of Orient divers that were produced from the 70s all the way into the 90s. They came in a lot of case shapes and even more dial variations, with each one being more colorful and more blingy than the previous. So if you want a flamboyant watch that draws attention, you should definitely check their SK lineup. This model is also called Jumbo because it comes in a watch case that is large by today's standards, so imagine how it must have looked back then. With 44mm in width and 50mm lug to lug, this thing is big. But unlike some watches that manage to hide their true size, this one actually feels and wears even bigger than the specs would suggest. I think it's down to the case shape that gives it a very wide stance. This wide stance is one of the reasons why the 14mm of thickness seem a lot thinner. The second reason for that effect is the fact a good portion of that thickness comes from the boxed acrylic crystal. The crystal is very pronounced and large because the timing bezel is internal. It certainly adds to the charm of the watch, while the fluted bezel around it rises the bling level to 11. Like that wasn't enough, almost the entire case is polished, with only the small top area of the case being brushed. These polished surfaces, combined with the already mentioned fluted bezel and the multifaceted steel markers, create a very reflective watch that somehow always finds a way to shine at you, no matter what angle you place it at. Now, speaking of the markers, they're also as 70s as they can be. Wide, multifaceted, and polished, they really stand out from the emerald green background. The dial itself has a sunburst effect, and to be honest, Orient really knows how to make a sunburst dial. It looks beautiful and changes color as you move it around. The hands are large, but feel kinda out of place on this because of the marker's shape. I think simple wide stick hands would suit the markers better. But one cannot argue with the fact these are more diver appropriate and thanks to the size can accommodate a lot more lume, which is very welcomed as the lume itself is not that strong, so the hour markers and their dot applied lume vanish during the night. The day-date window is framed, and the day-date discs seem to be made of metal, as they give out a silver sheen, which makes the movement feel premium. I personally like that a lot and prefer it over a simple white plastic used on most modern watches. The party piece of this watch has to be the internal rotating bezel, not because it has some out-of-the-world function or operating procedure. It is rather simple, but it's the way it looks that makes it stand out. With each 15-minute segment having its own color, it makes for a very happy watch. And don't think Orient went for discreet, subtle colors given the fact that there are 4. No, they went with blue, green, yellow, and pink. It's like a madman was behind the design of it. But guess what? I like it. It just suits the nature of the watch and it forms a very funky package. The bracelet is the product of its era, meaning it comes with folded links, hollow end links, and a cheap stamped clasp. But I cannot complain. It's quite comfortable, holds the watch tightly in place, and it hasn't pulled a single hair from my wrist in the whole week of wear. Just like the bracelet, the movement used is also pretty basic, but has become a bit of a legend itself. The in-house made caliber 469 has been with Orient since the 70s, and believe it or not, is still produced to this day. Derived from a Seiko 7005, it is a true workhorse movement that can keep working for years and even decades without service. It beats at 21,600 bph, has no hacking and no hand winding, but does come with a quick set day and date. Sadly, like with all Orient watches that have the calendar button, it is used to advance the day of the week, which is pointless in my opinion, as day of the week is something you will never have the need to change if you wear your watch every day. Date, however, is something you will have to change even if you wear the watch every day, as you have to advance the date by one every other month. If Orient made the button advance the date, I would have loved it. But like this, I always find it as an unnecessary addition. One thing I'll admit is that on this exact model, because of the twin crowns, it actually looks okay, as it balances the look. But on something like a Mako, I really dislike it. With the prices ranging from $60 to about $360, depending on the variant and condition, they are a pretty cheap way of getting a reliable vintage diver powered by an in-house made movement. Like I already said, the design of this thing is the exact opposite of subtle and refined, so whichever variant you choose, you better like colorful and shiny things. Otherwise, this watch will be too much for you. Well, that completes this week's review, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and until the next video, bye.